Okay, well, welcome to this little introduction to teaching online and using the tools, specifically Zoom. I'll tell you real quick what I want to go through. One is just the basics of logging into Zoom, then starting Zoom and bringing your students into Zoom, sharing links, troubleshooting the start of class, different things you run into, and then the different modes or ways to see your students. Then I'd like to go through the basics of class management, sounds, chat, whether you allow it or not, and then sharing tools. And these will really differ by what you're teaching and how you're teaching, but the share screen, whiteboard, etc. Then a few comments on class management. So first of all, the screen I'm sharing right now is just zoom.com. I'm going to log in. This is where you would start into one of our accounts. As of right now, an educational institution can have free accounts. And what I mean by free is a free account that has more than 40 minutes. Anyone can have a free account. You're limited to a 40-minute class period. So if you don't need more than 40 minutes, you don't even need any kind of a premium account. So we've set up Roman Roads Classroom 1. That won't necessarily be set up for you. But there's always a personal meeting ID, which is very possibly, this is all you really need to use. In our case, we set up something called Roman Roads Classroom Run, but 1, and then 2, but it works the same way. So to launch, there may be a few installs that you'll want to download the actual software. That's pretty basic, straightforward. I'm not going to go over that, but let's go ahead and just start the classroom. This is what your students will see. First of all, there's a little bit of setup that has to happen for this kind of setup for the teacher, but almost nothing for the student. The first time they log in, they will have to OK a plugin, but they don't even need to create an account. Let me pull this up to the screen. This is what popped up on my lower screen here. I have a dual monitor. Dual monitors, by the way, are a real blessing for Zoom if you have 2 monitors. So I'm going to join with computer audio. There is a possibility, I'm going to mute myself here, that this will interact with my video using the webcam and the monitor for both. And I want to point a few things out. I have it to automatically record. I'm going to go ahead and stop that because I don't want to double record here. We're in Zoom. Obviously, there's just me. We're going to want to bring other kids in. They might be here waiting for you if you set this up in advance. So we've started Zoom. I'm going to make that just a little bit bigger here. And you're going to see these tools down here: invite, manage participants, polling, the share tool, that brings up this, and then chat and record. And then there's options to go live. That's a pro feature. You probably won't want to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and click manage participants. You'll see who's on. It's just me right here, and you'll notice I'm the host. If you're going over 40 minutes, make sure you're logged in and you are the host before things begin. So first of all, how do you get your students in? Well, you may have already sent them the link, and they may have already been appearing here. But you can also do it this way. So I'm going to copy this link. It's copied to my clipboard. And basically, the link that was just copied, given to anyone, will allow them to click it. And that's whether it's on a mobile device and they've installed the app, or whether it's on email. That's all they have to do is click that link. I'm going to actually message this link to the computer right beside me, so that we can bring artificially bring someone else in. Here, let me go ahead and exit this. So 1 second here. So I'm simulating another user. There we go. So we'll have at least 2. Oh, look at that. So let me go ahead and join with computer audio. Of course, we're getting feedback. So there you go. That's right beside me. So now I'd like to go into. So you've logged in. You have you're active, and you have invited someone. You shared a link. Now I'd like to go through just the a few different ways you can see your students. First of all, this is the default. It'll default to, if it's just two people, it'll obviously just be the two. But if there's three or more, it'll accentuate, bring to the front whoever's talking, so it detects that. Gallery view is great to see everyone equally. So obviously there's no one over here, but this is great when you have especially a handful of people. You can see everyone at once. You really can feel like you're sitting around a table if this is done right. Speaker view is preferable if there's more than 12 students, especially because it'll accentuate whoever's talking. It'll bring to the front. I'm a fan of gallery view, but this is if you have dual monitors, it'll do different things there. You can have full screen modes that can help it, whoever's speaking and be larger, as well as see the students larger. So we have two participants here. And that's how you can see them. A few basics on classroom management here. So I want to go over sounds and the use of chat. Here's chat on the side. Hello. You can message everyone or specific people. See, it says privately. This is something that you can control in the settings if you don't want students chatting with each other, but that's something, but that is available by default. And so you'll want to decide whether you allow the sharing of links, the chatting or not. This can be a useful teaching tool. It can also be a distraction. I'll go over that a little bit later. So there's chat, there's participants. I've never really used these tools here, but they can be useful for especially large groups. Let's see. So when you have especially a large group, you're going to run into probably noises. If everyone has their mic muted, notice that I'm muted and Roman Roads over here is muted. Obviously I'm doing a screen recording. If this were a live video, the other person couldn't hear me because I'm muted. So right here, there's a really quick mute unmute. This is something to teach your students. Tell them about the mute button. So how to mute themselves. So if there's a bunch of noise, if a baby's in the background and they don't need to talk, they can just quickly unmute and then mute themselves and then unmute themselves if they need to talk. Sometimes it works with having a dozen students on and everyone's unmuted and it's great. But generally there's at least a few people who have some annoying sound. So it's worth just saying, hey, classroom etiquette of an online school, mute yourself. The other thing is troubleshooting as you come in. So it's troubleshooting the start of class. Audio is the thing that often doesn't work. If you go down to this drop down, there will be audio settings, which open up your computer settings, and the ability to choose a microphone. Often, the most basic issues are fixed by simply choosing the microphone that is actually plugged in, the wrong thing's plugged in, and you just choose it right here. Otherwise, go to audio settings. When kids come into class and their mics don't work, almost every time that's the case, it's not working for anything else. They just haven't used their microphone before. And so ideally that would be, tell your students to test your microphones ahead of time as best you can. Make sure you have one. If it's a laptop, it's often built in and nothing needs to be installed. Desktops are where you get into trouble most often. The other thing is video. Most of the time you'll just have one camera, very easy. And it's again, desktops are what get into trouble there. Laptops are generally great. So classroom management. I want to just go over the tools you can use for in class. So we went over sounds. Chat is something you may want to disallow or encourage depending on the class in that situation. If you have it closed, you may not even see that students are chatting. So in other words, I took away chat and it's full screen. That's actually, I would encourage everyone to do that if they're not using chat. Close the chat off. If someone does chat, a little orange thing will pop up and show that there's a waiting chat that you haven't seen. But that it really will depend on how you're teaching, what you're teaching, and whether you want that or not. Another thing in terms of how you're teaching that will really affect the subject are these tools. So first of all, you can easily share your screen. Obviously, I'm screen recording this one at the top, but the other one I wanted to show you is, we'll start with the whiteboard. I'm going to go ahead and share my whiteboard, and this is what everyone sees full screen now. So there's tools that that are very basic. You can write text, and you can invite students. It's not wanting me to type. Screen sharing is paused. I think the fact that I'm recording is doing something, but you can text, type, spotlight, erase stuff, and students can be invited to do that as well. I'm going to stop sharing. Screen sharing is paused. Recording the screen may be causing a few issues here. The other thing I want to show you, and I hope this will work while I am screen recording. If you have an iOS device, you can wirelessly or with a cable, I'm going to go with wireless here, share anything on your screen, your iPad or your iPhone, including the camera. And this can be an extremely powerful tool. So I'm going to push share. We're going into share mode here. And now that I've pushed share, I can go to screen mirroring on my phone. I choose Zoom, and my screen is instantly shared. What is especially amazing is that I can actually activate the camera, and now I am sharing my high-resolution camera from my phone. So you can, whether you're doing an art class or maybe a textual, you can show the text. If you're doing a lab, you can you're dissecting a frog, you can show things up close. This is a very, very powerful tool that is one of the most unused aspects of Zoom, and I wish more people would take advantage of it. What I did when Tom Garfield was teaching for us, we got him a document camera. You can do that the same way. Let me go back to share. If you go to, I think they moved it, there we go. You can content from a second camera. This can be a second webcam or a document camera. This is what they show it there. And that allows you to do workshopping. That's what allows you to do applied, where kids would want to gather around and see something, suddenly they can. Let's see, I wanted to show you a clip of that. Let me see if I can pull that up real quick. A clip of Tom Garfield's class where he did art. I was just going to show an example. Here it is. Let me see if I can pull this up real quick. Okay, so you should be seeing the screen share. This is one of his classes. I'm going to just he's waiting for, oh, by the way, this is what the beginning of class often looks like. Kids are there, they turn on their webcam.
Look who's here.
And
hi, guys.
There you go. That's how to start a class. So anyway, I'm going to just skip ahead here, and he's in sharing the secondary camera mode.
But there'll be some brush techniques that we will use that are similar to watercolor. So that'll be kind of fun.
So let me skip ahead here where he's actually doing stuff on camera.
But maybe if you start with your violet, mix that with your red, and just kind of work your way around and see what you get. Try to get what you think would be the color between.
So yes, you can teach art online. And I recommend that Zoom can be used in a much more powerful way than most people think it can, by getting up close and personal with subjects. So if you're doing dissections, if you're doing art, if you're doing Latin where you're going through an old text, there are a lot of ways that you can use secondary camera to be very effective, depending on how you're teaching. The other thing that Scott Postman does a lot is he will have a Google Doc open. collaborated. They're shared on all the screens. This is great for humanities recitations, where they will interact with the Google Doc in real time. And that's not actually, it can be shared on screen if you're like, okay, everyone, let's talk about this sentence, and everyone sees it. And that's where you would just share your screen. You can share a screen or a specific window. And the or you have just Google Doc and everyone is seeing at the same time. But these are all tools that are very effective. So let's see, did I go through everything I wanted to? Okay, just a few final thoughts. I realize this could bring some questions. I'm happy to have people ask me more questions. Obviously, this is a test session with myself here. I'm looking over, I see myself in full screen. But just classroom dynamics, a few parting thoughts. I would greatly encourage you to require webcam. The Zoom experience can be very passive, the old, where maybe everyone's webcam is off and it's just a live lecture, it's just audio. But I think it's far more effective if it's active, if it's interactive. Done right, you can have a classes where if with older kids in particular, it's pretty close to being around a table. So I encourage you to require the webcam to be on for all students. You'll see if they're paying attention. You can say, "Hey, Johnny, drifting off there," just like in a real classroom. The other thing is, if they are all, ask them to use headphones if there's distractions around, or if their audio is especially bad. Headphones with the speaker is ideal, or even the AirPods or the headphones that come with that most kids have with a little microphone. There's anything that takes out the distractions. Distractions are a difficulty of online classrooms. So try to avoid distractions. If there's multiple students behind one webcam, if it's siblings, from my observation, it's not been too bad. But if it's a whole group of students, say it's a remote teacher coming in and there's a classroom with 10 students, I don't think that's going to happen a lot these days because the whole point is social isolation. But if that happens, having an adult in the room is going to be a real help. Again, just on chat, it's up to you, the teacher and the medium, but chat can often get out of hand. And the more interactive it is with video, the better it is, I think. So hopefully this was helpful to you. This is not a very complicated technology, but it is a new technology, I realize, for many. One thing I didn't go over was polling. You can create polls, ask questions. I have not seen that used in small classrooms as much. That's great for large classrooms, but that's one of the main things that are being displayed here, so I thought I'd mention it. Troubleshooting, ask your student. Don't be frustrated if the first class is, the first half of class is mostly troubleshooting. That's okay. That's why every homeschool online classes generally has an entire session devoted to testing equipment. But don't be discouraged by that. Once kids get it, they generally get it. If you're having trouble, reach out to someone who can perhaps help you. Ideally, they would be able to be around you and see your screen. Often it'll be, it could be the teenager in your life who can help you out if you're having trouble. But ideally, it would be someone near. If not, do reach out to me if you're just lost in having trouble. Let me know if you have any other questions. I'd be glad to answer them. And blessings on this new step of teaching online, which was unexpected, but there are incredible tools, and used well can be very effective. So thanks so much.